Long before Anne Hathaway won an Academy Award, long before she became Catwoman, and long before millions of people on the internet suddenly decided they hated her, she was simply a teenager hoping one audition might change her life. Ironically, when success finally arrived, it would bring a level of criticism she never imagined. At one point, the backlash became so intense that Anne later admitted it actually cost her movie roles. Yet instead of disappearing, she quietly fought her way back and proved that one of Hollywood's biggest comebacks didn't need scandal, it needed resilience. This is the untold story of Anne Hathaway, and Jacqueline Hathaway was born on November 12, 1982, in Brooklyn, New York, before her family later settled in New Jersey. Acting wasn't a random dream. Her mother, Kate Macaulay Hathaway, had worked as a stage actress, and watching her perform sparked something powerful in Anne at a young age. She admired the confidence, emotion, and storytelling that lived on stage, but there was one problem. Her parents were cautious about Hollywood and wanted their daughter to grow up before chasing a professional acting career. That patience turned out to be valuable. Throughout high school, Anne performed in theater productions while continuing her education, gradually building experience instead of rushing into fame. Even then, very few people could have predicted how quickly her life would change. In 2001, Disney was searching for someone to play an awkward but kind-hearted teenager who suddenly discovers she's the heir to a European kingdom. Hundreds of actresses auditioned, but Anne's opportunity came almost by accident. During one screen test she slipped and fell from her chair. Instead of ruining the audition, the moment highlighted the genuine awkward charm the filmmakers were looking for. She landed the role of Mia Thermopolis in The Princess Diaries, and almost overnight became one of Hollywood's newest young stars. The film was an unexpected hit. Audiences loved watching an ordinary teenager transform into a princess, and Anne suddenly found herself everywhere. For many actors, that kind of success becomes a trap. Hollywood often wants to keep young performers playing the same character forever. And recognized that danger early. Instead of staying inside the family film world, she deliberately searched for more challenging roles. She appeared in dramas like Brokeback Mountain, proving she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress rather than simply remembered as Disney's newest princess. It was a risky decision, but it worked. Then came another career-defining moment, in 2006, and starred opposite Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada. The film became a worldwide success and introduced Anne to an even larger audience. Playing Andy Sachs wasn't just another romantic comedy role. It showed she could balance humor, emotion, and dramatic growth in the same performance. Working alongside one of the greatest actresses of all time also earned an enormous respect inside Hollywood. Over the next several years, she continued expanding her career with films like Rachel Getting Married, which earned her first Academy Award nomination, followed by Love and Other Drugs, One Day, and eventually Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises, where she surprised many critics with her performance as Catwoman. Nolan's version wasn't simply a comic book character, and brought intelligence, confidence, and vulnerability to Selina Kyle, earning praise from audiences who had doubted the casting before the movie was released. By 2012, everything seemed to be going perfectly. That same year, Anne underwent an intense physical transformation for Les Misérables. She lost significant weight, cut off her hair on camera, and fully committed herself to portraying Fantine. The performance earned universal acclaim, and when award season arrived, Anne became the clear favorite for Best Supporting Actress. Winning the Academy Award should have been the happiest moment of her career. Instead, it marked the beginning of one of Hollywood's strangest public backlashes. Almost overnight, social media filled with criticism. Some viewers labeled her speeches too rehearsed. Others claimed she seemed too perfect or trying too hard. The internet even created a nickname for the phenomenon, Hathahate. What started as memes quickly became something much larger. Years later, Anne revealed that the online backlash had real consequences behind the scenes. She told Vanity Fair that many people stopped offering her roles because they worried her public image had become toxic. From the outside, Anne Hathaway looked like one of the biggest stars in the world. Behind the scenes, however, Hollywood was becoming far less certain about giving her opportunities, and just when it seemed her career might be entering its most difficult chapter, one director made a decision that would quietly change everything. Winning an Academy Award is supposed to be the moment every actor dreams about, but for Anne Hathaway, it became the beginning of one of the strangest chapters in modern Hollywood. After taking home the Oscar for Les Misérables in 2013, instead of celebrating her achievement, she suddenly found herself becoming the target of an online hate campaign. Social media filled with criticism that often had nothing to do with her acting. Some people claimed she seemed too perfect, others thought her acceptance speeches felt overly rehearsed, while many admitted they simply couldn't explain why they disliked her. The internet eventually gave the phenomenon its own nickname, Hathahate. Looking back years later, and admitted the backlash affected her far more than people realized. In interviews, she explained that the criticism wasn't just something she ignored on social media. It had real consequences inside the film industry. Producers became hesitant to cast her because they believed audiences had turned against her. At the exact moment she had reached the highest point of her career, opportunities quietly began disappearing. For many actors, that kind of public rejection can become impossible to recover from. But while some doors were closing, one of Hollywood's most respected directors never stopped believing in her. Christopher Nolan, who had already worked with and on The Dark Knight Rises, cast her in Interstellar alongside Matthew McConaughey in 2014. Years later, and openly thanked Nolan for continuing to trust her during a period when others had become uncertain about hiring her. Interstellar reminded audiences why Anne Hathaway had become one of Hollywood's biggest stars in the first place. Her performance as Dr. Amelia Brand brought intelligence, emotion, and vulnerability to one of the decade's most ambitious science fiction films. Instead of trying to answer the criticism surrounding her, and allowed her work to speak for itself. Around the same time, her personal life also became more grounded. She had married businessman Adam Schulman in 2012 after several years of dating, and unlike many celebrity marriages, they kept their relationship largely private. And has often spoken about how important family became as her career evolved, especially after becoming a mother. Rather than constantly chasing headlines, she began choosing projects more carefully, balancing work with her personal life. Films like The Intern, Ocean's 8, The Witches, She Came to Me, and The Idea of You reminded audiences of her versatility. She could move comfortably between comedy, drama, romance, and action without being trapped inside one type of role. Interestingly, public opinion also began changing. Many of the same people who once joined the online backlash started questioning why it had happened in the first place. Journalists, fans, and commentators revisited the Hathahate era and concluded that much of the criticism had been unfair. And herself never tried to attack the people who criticized her. Instead, she focused on growth, continuing her career, and letting time change the conversation. Today, Anne Hathaway stands as one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, not simply because of the awards she has won, but because she survived a period that might have ended someone else's career. From an awkward teenager accidentally impressing Disney casting directors, to becoming a princess, an Oscar winner, Catwoman, and eventually one of Hollywood's strongest comeback stories, Anne's journey proves that success is not measured by how high you climb, but by how you respond when the world suddenly turns against you. The internet may have tried to define one chapter of her story, but it never got to write the ending. Instead, Anne Hathaway quietly did what she had always done best. She kept showing up, kept improving, and eventually reminded Hollywood, and the audience watching, that genuine talent almost always outlasts temporary criticism.